Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Made by Marymount, the official Marymount Athletics podcast. Today, I'm joined by men's swimmer Evan Pack. Today, Evan and I talk about his path to college swimming, what it was like being on the Marymount men's swim team for their second straight Atlantic East Conference Championship, and the special bond that Evan and I share. With that, let's talk with Evan. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Made by Marymount, the official Marymount Athletics podcast. Today, I am joined by a special guest, one of my teammates. Well, I guess you're my teammate. We practice at the same time. I'm here with Evan Pack from men's swimming. Evan, how are you today?
I am doing great. I'm happy to be here. How are you?
I'm happy to be here with you, too. I mean, you and I think, have a lot to talk about today. Quite the relationship we have in the pool. I'm very excited to touch on that, kind of talk about your experience here at Marymount. You know, year in, you're starting year 2 now, kind of get rocking and rolling. So obviously to get to this point, you've had been swimming for a while. Let's talk a little bit about like swimming history for you.
So yeah, my swimming journey is a little bit unique. I started swimming when I was 4 years old, just summer swim. So every summer the pool that I went to was just a 2-minute walk from my house. So I'd be there every day over the summer, and I was in the water since I was born, basically. My brother's on the swim team before me. And I just fell in love with swimming since I was little. All my best friends I grew up with, I swam with. And it really wasn't until I got to high school that I took swimming seriously. I played baseball when I was in middle school, high school. I took that really seriously. I loved baseball. But as I matured, got older, baseball players got a lot better. And I realized that this might not be for me. And it really wasn't until actually my senior year of high school when I started club swimming.
Really? Even I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I was a solid high school swimmer my junior year. But as you know, when you get to high school, you have to swim the hundreds. And at that point, that was my first time swimming 100 or, God forbid, a 200. And it was a big awakening for me. My coach was like, Evan, you got a lot of talent. You just can't swim more than a 50. If you got a little bit more experience and training under your belt, like you could be really good. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I mean, like, I still want to play baseball because, I mean, I've had these friends since I was really little and I still love baseball, but I should probably lock in and take swimming more seriously. So senior year of high school, I joined a club team and yeah.
And the rest was history.
Yeah, the rest was history.
So obviously you had a pretty successful freshman year. So telling me that you started club your senior year, a lot of work was done within, I guess, 2 years, essentially. You talk about freshman year training and then your senior year training. What is something that like was really eye-opening for you? Because when you start swimming competitively and you start, club swimming, it's not necessarily, I think, what people know right off the dome. Like, we're not just swimming back and forth.
Yeah.
Like the whole practice, kind of, but not really.
Yeah. Like,
what was like the biggest change for you jumping from something that was kind of recreational, kind of fun, into taking it 110% seriously?
Summer swim, if anyone has any experience swimming, or if you compare it to like a rec basketball or rec soccer, practices are never fun, but you're with your friends and it's not taken very seriously. And when I started swimming club and obviously started swimming college, I realized how not just like physically, but like mentally challenging it is. 2-hour, 5,000 plus yard practices. I mean, obviously they hurt, but they really stack up in your head. Like, you're like, I got to do this every day. Every day I can't stop. Because, I mean, for those who swim or for those who run any sort of cardio conditioning, like 1 day out is like 2 days to get back. Mm-hmm. So anytime that you
not want to miss a practice.
And if you're sick or anything, you just feel like you're missing so much.
Right. And especially when you're sick, it's like, okay, you missed 2 days, you're sick, you come back, it's like you missed a month.
Yeah, exactly. So that part is tough. And just seeing those long sets on the board with the brackets around them.
Every time there's a bracket up.
3, 4, 5 times you look at it and you're like, I know I can do this, but I really don't want to.
Yeah.
I really don't want to, but it's nice having teammates around you who thugging it out with you. And I mean, another thing that really opened my eyes was the levels to swimming.
Yeah.
Obviously as a summer swimmer, I was one of the top swimmers in my like league, I guess you could call it. And then when I got to club, high school, college, I was like, wow, like these kids are legit. So I just got exposed to the levels of it, but I feel like I adapted pretty well to that.
So it's funny you bring that up because I want to talk to you about a meet that you guys just had. You guys swam a pretty cool meet. You guys swam Duke. Yeah. So obviously you want to talk about levels of swimming. That's a Division I school, higher level of swimming, something we're used to. Tell me a little bit about that experience. So you guys knew about that meet last year. You came into this year and had the summer like knowing on your mind, hey, we're swimming Duke this year. Now, granted, it's a dual meet. It's not like we're swimming them in conference. They're not like moving around and. But tell me a little bit about what that was like for you guys, because women did not swim Duke. It was only you guys. So that had to be like a different experience, probably something that a lot of you have like never experienced before.
Yeah, that was actually really cool. And being in this area, you're from Virginia, Richmond, right? So being from Virginia, Maryland, swimming here is big. Mm-hmm. So when you're in high school, you swim against swimmers who are bona fide Power 5 recruits.
Right. That are
absolute studs. But usually that is just, a given team will have one of those, two of those maybe. And then when you get to college, it's full rosters full of guys like that. But I mean, swimming D3, we're people who are relatively at our level, but Duke, as you said, a major Power 5 team. That was, we knew what we were getting ourselves into and we were excited. At least I was really excited.
You guys were excited. Like it was fun. Even that morning, I remember like we had our set on the board and then Chris had y'all sit over there and all it was what was it like Duke Day or something?
Yeah, with big exclamation points.
Yeah, everybody you guys yelled. So yeah. You all were excited. I feel like maybe a little nervous, but I think you guys were excited for the most part.
Yeah, it was fun, and I knew we weren't going to compete with them like we do with a Salisbury or a St. Mary's or a Mary Washington. But what I told the guys before the meet, I was like, these guys have something to prove. We don't. These guys are coming here and we have nothing to lose. We know that we are not at their level. We know that, if you just look at, you saw them, they were like, almost all of them were like 4 inches.
I know I'm short.
Almost all of them were like 4 inches taller than us. And I was just like, guys, let's go out there and have fun. And let's prove something to not just them, but to ourselves.
And so that was y'all's first time racing this season too.
Yeah. So I thought of it as an opportunity to just see what we could do when being pushed by guys who are going NCAA Division I times.
Right. And that's it's a learning experience. You guys get so much out of that because now you got to race these guys, and now racing Salisbury last Saturday really didn't seem that bad. It didn't seem as intimidating. Obviously that's another really strong D3, but in a sense it's like, okay, well we raced Duke, we can take Salisbury.
Exactly. Yeah.
So a little fun known fact about Evan and I is we swim the same stroke. Yeah. And every time that Evan and I race, most of the time, it's different at conference, but we always swim in lane 4. And usually I swim before you and you swim right after me. And I literally, most of the time, we didn't have it the same at Salisbury. We had the exact same lineup, usually. Yeah. We usually swim in the relay, and then we have the 100 breast, the 2 breast, 2 IM.
Yeah.
And then we're done. But we're always in lane 4. And I think it's really fun. And one of my favorite parts about swimming is I go behind the block and I always know that you're going to be there. And I think that talks about the level of team and family that both our women and men's team have.
Yeah.
We walk behind the block, we're always back there with each other. You and I are joking around behind the block. You always have my back during my races. I'm standing there behind the block, probably keeling over, dying because it's just race, but I'm staying there for your races. And we've just had that bond right from the beginning.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's something that I've always loved about this team for sure. And one of my favorite things about every one of my races is a lot of people who would think who see us and talk to us who don't swim would think that we hate this because we talk, talk pretty poorly about it, how much it sucks. And it does suck, but deep down we never admit it, but we love it.
It's one of those things. It's I think my dad has told me this once. It's we embrace the suck.
We embrace the suck. And meets are where it's supposed to pay off. And no, I love meets so much, but meets, even though you're not swimming 5,000, 6,000 yards, it's mentally tough. Mm-hmm. Going up behind the block, you have to race all out. You have guys next to you who are going to push you. And I think my favorite thing about us is when we are behind the block while the backstrokers are going, it's just you and me. We both are just I really don't want to do this. I really don't want to do this
every single time. I'm do you want to go for me?
Yeah, even if it's just sometimes when we have the 50, even the 50, we're just can we just do it freestyle? Or a 200 breaststroke?
We just had this conversation.
Yeah, I know. And that 200 breaststroke last me, I had jitters for that one. And me and you just looked at each other, oh man. 5 minutes and this will be all over.
So before we talk about conference last year, we're going to go to one specific race of conference last year. We're going to go to the 200 breast last year. So you swam before me so at conference, it's like different. The guys swim first.
Yeah.
So you don't really know this, but I'm standing behind the curtain back there. You're racing. I'm like peeking through. I'm like trying to like stay calm because I'm tweaking out.
Oh, of course.
I did like third going into that. So I was like, I have got to be focused, but I'm like, how's he doing?
Yeah.
How's he doing? I was like, because I wasn't used to that. Usually I know how you're doing. And I like got into this habit of like, all right, after I swim, I watch Evan. Like that's just kind of how it was.
Yeah.
And so I saw you place third and I was like, all right, well, he's not getting all that fame by himself. So, and I remember going in there and getting third, going one of the best, I think it was the best time for me ever. And like going up and just like giving you a hug right after.
Yeah.
Like that was a moment I think I'll never forget. Like I remember like you said to me, like you did it or something like that. And I think like, I guess we in that moment, that's where it pays off. All the hatred, like moments like that is when it's so worth it.
Yeah. And usually after a 200 breaststroke, coach will tell you, get right back in the pool, cool down. But I was like, I gotta wait just 2 minutes. I just gotta wait 2 minutes. I gotta watch Ella. Like
2 minutes and 35 seconds.
It's nice watching her when I don't have to swim after. So all the nerves are out of me. And that race for sure was just, that was a tough race for me.
Yeah.
Just that whole weekend.
Day 3.
Yeah. That whole weekend was tough for me, but that race, I had a really bad prelims race.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was seated 6th going into finals. And I was just really just like, you know me, I'm hard on myself.
Yeah.
So I was really hard on myself, but just trying to put away all the negativity and just be like, I have one swim left. Mm-hmm. Like just give it everything I got.
And that's the thing about that Sunday. Yeah. Sunday night. It's like, we have one more race. Like you just got to put everything you have left in it.
Yeah. So same with you, I went a best time and got third, and I was happy with that.
Sweet. We both were on the third place podium.
Yes, we were.
So speaking of conference, let's talk about it. So you experienced your first ever Atlantic East Conference Championship and you walked away with a ring essentially. Tell me a little bit about that experience, because I talk to everybody that has like a long season like we did. I'm like, oh, it's taxing. You have to stay in it mentally. You and I know that. Let's walk through the emotions of that weekend, because for us, it's a little bit different. We start on Thursday and we're not done until Sunday night, late Sunday night with that.
So I was beyond excited for that weekend. I was so happy.
There was a lot of hype to live up to.
And I mean, a lot of us were excited because, the season was going to be over. We can sleep in. And of course, I was
like, man, we're almost there.
Of course, I was excited for that. But more so, I was excited to just prove what I've been working for, just to show what I've been doing behind the scenes. And I was really excited, a little bit nervous, but mainly just excited and ready to go. And that first Thursday, I had the medley relay. And we lost that real close race.
That was
really close race.
That was the first, I lost my voice on the first day because of
really close race. And I didn't split. I split, fine split, but not what I was hoping. And obviously I wasn't too stressed about that. They had a really solid relay. St. Mary's did, especially that, the backstroker, Schwank. I can't believe we're talking about him on this, but so that was a tough race, but we weren't too upset about that one. The next day I had 2 IM, both of us had 200 IM. And
you're running through your meet lineup. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. 200 IM, that was a good race for me as well. Had a really stacked field in that one. I had to race Trevor.
Oh, that's right.
And Trevor and Alex and Peck.
I was about to say, there were quite a few of you in that.
Yeah, there were 4 of us in that. So four the mums in that heat. And for those of you who don't know what the mums are, the Marymount University men's swimming call herself the mums. Nice little acronym.
Mums.
But the rest of that weekend I would say that rest of that weekend was really tough for me, because going into the season, I had really high expectations for myself, and so did my coaches, so did Chris. They were expecting multiple team records for me, and I didn't get it as early as they expected. I hadn't been dropping time. I started off really hot. Won the 100 breast, 200 breast, almost every meet up until January. And then just got really tough mentally, as I said, and physically. But I knew conference was like, this is where it all pays off. We were rested, we're shaved, we're ready. And I gained time in the 100 breasts, which was just really shocking for me. Like I felt good going into prelims, and I wasn't, obviously prelims is prelims.
Yeah.
You're just getting a final spot.
Right. So you're just racing for a spot.
I got my
final essentially.
I got my final spot. I looked at the board. I was like, okay, not the time I want, but tonight is where it counts.
You got that second chance.
And then at night, it was the same thing. I placed third, it was nice having that bronze medal, but I wanted a gold. Same thing with the 200 breaststroke. I wanted a gold in that. And I think everyone, including myself, was expecting a gold from me. And I just didn't get it. And that's all right. But I look back on that weekend fondly just because I was so proud of all my teammates, of you, of Alex, even someone like Ryan who had to deal with not being able to swim, but just putting on a happy face, a smile for all of his teammates. And G-Watt breaking a conference record, Trevor breaking a team record, Karsten team record, lots of highlights
to be proud of.
Lots of highlights from being on the deck rather than the pool. So when I think about that weekend, I think about watching my guys and my girls race, and I think about my races, but I use it as fuel for what I'm doing now.
And you've had we're still very early on. We only have 2 meets. We'll race again, not this weekend, but the next.
Yeah.
But you've had a pretty solid start to your year. Obviously, it's still early on. Bodies are tired. They're still kind of getting adjusted into the way that we train. But I think, too, it's like you're able to use that meet and those 2 races, the 2 races that are the most important to you. Like 200 IM is important to you, but it's not breaststroke. And I understand that 110%.
I haven't even raced it this season, and I'm not complaining.
All right, well, keep that one to yourself, please, because some of us did. Some of us did and almost died. But anyways,
of course.
Not important. You can use those races and fuel them for this year. And I think in a sense you're doing that. I'm watching you consistently go about the same time, which is a fast time earlier on, at least in my opinion. I don't know what you think. But you're going a consistent fast time. It's only a matter of time before conference meets start around. We'll start at that, next weekend? We'll have 2 conference, one for you guys, 2 for us.
Yeah.
But, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'm actually grateful for that disappointment last year is, it kept me hungry, especially over the summer, where I had, it was all up to me, right? I was all free to me. I didn't have coaches who made me come to practice every day. I was in the pool on my own, in the weight room on my own, just thinking about how I want things to go differently this year than how they did last year. And then obviously this year as well, I'm taking everything a lot more seriously. And one mindset that I had last year that I've totally put away is that it's only a matter of time before it happens. So for me, that sub-minute 100 breaststroke, last year I went in it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Even if it doesn't happen the first meeting, it's going to happen at some point. But now I'm I got to make it happen. I know I can do it. And I know I've been able to do it for a couple years now. But now instead of me waiting for it to happen, I just got to go get it. So, and I've been really, really close the first 2 meets, and that's okay. Like I said, it keeps you hungry, keeps you wanting it in the pool.
Yeah.
Makes you work harder.
And talking a little bit about taking things more seriously, you've really stepped up in the role for the mums here. It's funny me saying mums. Anyways, I've always just referred to you as...
Shout out Trevor.
I've always just referred to you as the MEMS team, but mums, you've stepped up in that way for them, really been that leadership that, with Trevor leaving last year, graduating, it really stepped up in that way. Kind of what brought that upon for you? Well, you really stepped into that role this year. You've taken it upon yourself to do team gatherings. You've taken it upon yourself. You were the one that organized pink caps for us for last weekend against Salisbury, taking on a really big role at a really young age, essentially.
Well, growing up, every team that I've ever been on, I've always been just kind of a natural role model. I've always wanted to and always been just a leader, always a guy who would want to fire people up, would want to be the hardest worker, would want to push my teammates and show myself, the people who I swim or play with, play against, and the people who are watching me represent myself well, take pride in who I am and who my team is. And coming into this year, or last year, sorry, it was weird not being in that role with obviously you, Trevor, Alex, Ryan, Karsten, all the older swimmers who I kind of looked up to and learned from. So I really stepped down and learned a lot from those guys my freshman year. And coming into this year, knowing that we didn't have Trevor, who was the backbone of our team last year, just the epitome of a leader, I was like, someone has to step into that role. And I, that's just kind of who I've always been. I've always wanted people to look up to me, always wanted people to see me and, want to act like me. And that sounds a little bit egotistical, but really I just always wanted to have a good impression on people.
Every time I speak to you, Evan, I learn that you and I are more and more alike than I realize. And I think the one thing, twins, The one thing that really, the one time I think I took you underneath my wing in a sense, and not really, but like kind of, was literally when I found out you were a communications major. And then I was like, all right, I got him. I'll take care of this one.
Yep.
But
yes, and we are one of very few.
Yeah,
Definitely the only two on the swim team.
Yeah.
And there aren't very many here, but a few the proud.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think too, like we just have a very like unique friendship too. Like I can come to you about like so many things. I literally came to you this morning and I was like, Evan, I need help with my breaststroke kick. And like I like you as like I'm very comfortable enough to come to you as a teammate and as somebody who can help me. You know what I mean? And I think that speaks a lot to like our relationship as teammates and friends. And I mean, we've bonded over movies, we've bonded over swimming, we've bonded over baseball, and the fact that Juan Soto's like a Yankee now.
Go Yankees.
We've talked about this. Like, I mean, you and I just have a very complex relationship, and I think that that's because of swimming. And I think that goes back to, again, what we've touched on a lot is just like everything that swimming has given us.
Yeah, for sure. And I've always appreciated that bond from, like you said, the first time we met, just the communications major was like, oh yeah, me too. Like high five. And yeah, it's something that like, I don't even really remember. I just always, it's like, we've always been like super tight like that. And obviously with baseball, with Juan Soto and the Yankees, and I will be rooting for them.
Well, I would hope so.
Yeah, I will definitely be rooting for them. Juan Soto still has my heart.
Thanks.
I love them first, just so you know.
Me and the New York Yankees appreciate it. Yeah. All right.
I love them first, just saying.
I'll let you have that one.
But yeah. I've loved that relationship that we have, and just the relationship that I've had with the whole girls team and the men's team. I guess the men's team and the girls team have had, because even though we are separate teams, we have separate rosters, separate schedules. Like, so we practice together and we're together all the time.
One big happy family.
Yeah, together all the time. And even though you guys have like one side of the pool, we have one side of the pool. Every now and then we'll mix and mash, and that's always fun. Giving each other high fives after sets.
And I think that's important too. Like we race each other, and like you're behind my lane, I'm behind yours, and it goes for the whole team. You know, in a sense, like Seth is back there for Alex's races, for Kara's races, for Lillian's races. Like these guys are like stepping up and like cheering on the women just as much as we cheer for you guys. And I think that's important because we're not one, but we are.
Yeah.
You know, we're the swim team.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah. And speaking that back to that leadership role, being leader, you got to be hard on people sometimes and have people take accountability. But at the same time, people need, someone to cheer for them, someone to give them a high five, someone to say, good job. Or, hey, is everything going all right? And
because you don't know how much that person needs.
Yeah, and you can tell by someone's faces sometimes that during a training day when they aren't doing their best, you can, decide to yourself, hey, should I get on this guy about not trying, or should I give him a high five, be like, hey, you're doing great. So that's something that, that takes a lot of, I'd say, grit, integrity to just really be able to judge what's the best in that situation. And usually it's just give him a high five, say good job.
Yeah.
Every now and then you can get on one of the guys.
And out there in the rec team.
Yeah, because we have we have that type of relationship where we want to hold each other accountable. So I've really pride myself in doing that, because I hold myself to a really high standard. Yeah. And I think everyone on that team should be held to that standard. Yeah,
you guys, I think, are definitely able to be a little bit more hard on each other than we are, like as in females, essentially. For us, it's more like, come on, like you got this. You guys are able to be like, hey, like, come on.
Yeah.
It's the way you approach it. And when you learn that at a young age, and when you're taught it, whether you learn it, regardless, it's something that you apply for the rest of your life. So the way that you're attacking this now is going to impact you wherever you end up 5-6 years down the road.
Yeah. And one thing for me, I respond well to, being harsh, being loud.
I do too.
I like a coach or a teammate who isn't afraid to get in my face and tell me that I'm doing a terrible job.
Yeah.
But I know not everyone responds well to that.
Right.
And I think the guys on this team, they can take that. They're pretty solid.
Yeah.
They don't really like to get in their feelings about that. But I've really learned that over the summer, where I coached summer league. And sometimes I use my loud voice a little too much with them. And, making a kid cry for the first time was like, oh, shoot, hey, my fault. Hey, it's nothing that you did. I'm just, that's just kind of the way I am. So just, having that experience for me was like, yeah, so not everyone really responds well to that.
Yeah.
So you just got to know your teammates and know what they need to do well.
Yeah. All right, Evan. Well, thank you for taking the time out of your day to join me here on Made by Marymount.
Of course.
You will forever be a teammate and friend that has had the lasting impact on my life. I think that was very much proven today. I will continue to cheer you on in lane 4, no matter if I'm here or if I'm God knows where next year, but we'll always be cheering you on from behind lane 4. But again, thank you for joining me today, but I'll see you bright and early in the morning at practice.
Yes, you will. And lane 4 will always have a spot for you.